won in the third.
Would you go back anything other than the first division?
No, it's not a case of going back into, you know, making set things whether to go back in the first or second. I just wouldn't go back into football right at this present time, and not for many, many months to come. The last time I was employed, I'd rather got my fingers burnt.
Right.
I walked around, I was going around like that for weeks. I wasn't there very long at Leeds, and the sack, you know, really hit me right between the eyes.
How did it happen? I mean, how does someone who employed you 40-odd days earlier give you the sack? Does he say...
well, it's very special. It's very special, the men with the ability to do that type of thing. Yeah. Because 44 days ago, before I got the sack, they were saying that they hoped I was there for life. And then 44 days ago, they're saying, well, you know, I'm not quite sure whether we've made the right decision. And I said to them, well, I said, I'm absolutely certain I've made the wrong decision with you bloody lot. And it went on those type of lines.
Should you have known before you went that it would never work, or could you have made it work if you'd done it differently?
I could have made it work having had time. Obviously, it's inevitable I made a few mistakes during the 44 days.
What sort of mistake?
Well, perhaps I didn't give them chance enough to get over the guy that was there before me, because he was there for a long, long time. Perhaps I wanted to, you know, get with them the same feeling as they'd had with the other guy. I'm loath to mention him, you know, and if we can refrain from doing it, we'll do so. It's
really like the other House of Commons. You hate to mention him. Why?
I hate to mention him. Why? Because he's a very talented man, and I don't like him. Don't ask me why. Because it is. That's exactly what. He's a very, very talented man, and his record is unsurpassable. But I just don't happen to like him, and I don't like the way he goes about football either. Football is a game of opinion. There are people in your profession perhaps don't like the way you do your bit.
Sure.
And, you know, it makes the game go round. There's half the country don't like a Labour government. Just happens that the other half do.
Why don't you want me to ask why you don't like it?
Because I can't tell you. It's impossible. We'd get closed down, David. I'm not one to envy people, because I've always, you know, had, you know, reasonable things going for me. The people who envy things, they envy the things they can't get. So I've never felt envy in my life. I've been very fortunate there. I haven't been jealous of many people. I'm very fortunate there. But I do feel envy when, you know, when this particular man has got this particular job, and this is the thing I've got to dismiss from my mind. It's very important. Envy crucifies you. Jealousy, below me.
Really destructive emotion.
Oh, it's murder. If you spend your time, any time of your day being jealous, you know, the guys that give you stick, or have given you stick, or will continue to give you stick, it's 90% jealousy. And they must be right bums.
But jealousy certainly is very, very destructive emotion.
Oh, it's terrible. It must be terrible.
Who's the sportsman and the politician you admire? What sort of people do you admire in those days?
The politicians, well, we're off politicians a bit at the moment. I personally am, you know. I was stars in the sky about politicians. I thought they were going to put it all right, but they keep failing, you know. And it's a remarkable part about it. I canvass for my local MP, and who I happen to believe is a very sincere man and a good MP. But I look at politicians broadly, and they come back to us having made such a mess of it and say, put us back there again, and I find this incredible. I find it an aspect of political life where they have the gall to knock on your door and tell us that we're in trouble, problems, and we're going to have to all pull our belts in, and I've paid them, or I've contributed for them to work to put it right. We pay their wages, and they make such a mess of it, and then they come back and ask us to do it all again. And you've either got to be, you know, as thick as hell to do that, or a very, very talented man. I read a quote once by Bill Nicholson, and he also told me it personally, that when his daughter was getting married in a church, he suddenly stood there in the church and thought, where have the 18 or 19 or 20 years gone that she was a little baby? And he'd missed out completely on that particular aspect of his life. I will never, ever, ever allow that to happen to me, because that is total failure as a human being, not as a football manager.
When you die and someone writes your epitaph, what would you like them to say about you?
Oh, no. No, I've never, ever given it a thought about dying, you know, and it frightens me. It frightens me to think that I'll ever get to the stage where I will contemplate dying. You know, they tell me it happens to us all, but I've not quite got into that bracket yet where I'm thinking about it. When they write it, I'll tell you what, I don't want anybody to write anything. I just want a couple of people round there when I die.